Hey guys, Catherine here. I am outside my home where I live with my mom and have for the last couple of years with my kids. I do apologize if it's difficult to hear me for the wind. I'm going to try to get to a spot where it's not hitting me so much. I'm really excited to video these things because it's so much easier, I feel, to video than to sit here and type a bunch of words that people have to read. Some people don't like reading, some people are more audio, some people are more visual. So I love recording. And besides, it's such a beautiful day outside, and you get to see my babes. My kids are not here with me right now. They went off to East Texas with my mother. I'm actually in Houston right now. And I'm going to stand in the corner of this fence thing because it blocks the wind. They went off with my mother to go meet up with my sister. So it's just me today, and I'm kind of hanging out and blogging and this and that and other. This section of the blog that I'm going to be sharing with y'all is about my dad's adoption journey. And it's probably one of the most nearest and dearest to my heart because for a long time I nearly came to hate adoption. And it was this piece of my history with adoption that kept me from hating it. Because it's like, if I hate adoption, I hate everything that's about who I am. I hate my dad. I hate my kids. I hate everything. If it weren't for adoption, I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be sitting here making this video for you guys. So I was like, what am I thinking? Anyway, so basically, and I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. And I do apologize for all the racket in the background. I'm right near a major highway. I'll come up with that and show you. That's 288 behind me. So, and the beltway's back that way. I don't know if you can see it for the whole neighborhood. Anyway, so I'll try to keep it short. My dad was born in North Dakota, Richardson to be exact. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he was born into a family of 6 kids. His father happened to be a pimp that would trick out his mother, so it's possible they all have different dads. One day after the 6th child was born, and he was about 2 months old, he decided, come on, let's go for a road trip. My dad was about 3, almost 4 years old at this time. This was in 1956, I think. Anyway, he was born in, no, it would have been 1955 because he was born in 51. I know him and my mom were like almost the same age, but 2 months apart. One was born in October and the other one was born in February, but 51 and 52. Anyway, it was around that time, and they drove all the way to Lufkin, Texas, which is my hometown. That's a long drive. Anybody who's ever drove across the United States, especially from north to south like that, that's quite a drive. I've drove from Houston to St. Louis, and that was a 20-hour trip. So it's somewhere in that neighborhood of a long trip. And he did it in the middle of winter. It was cold. It doesn't get as cold in Texas as it does in North Dakota. But he left North Dakota with all those kids like he left them here. With no coats, no shoes, and no adult supervision. On the courthouse steps. Come here, guys. Amos B. Amos B. Come here. I'm watching my dogs. He left them on the courthouse steps in my hometown with no adult supervision, with no coats and no shoes. And remember, the youngest one was 2 months old. My dad was third to youngest at about 3 to 4 years. And the oldest was about 12, I believe. Anyway, so he just drove here with his wife and those 6 kids and just left them there. No clothes, no shoes, no nothing, like I said before, in the middle of the night on the courthouse steps, and drove away. Left them with nothing but a single photo of them all sitting on the hood of a car. And that photo, to this day, the only one that I know that exists, is on the wall of my uncle's house, probably in his bedroom. He's moved around since, and I've moved away from home. But on the wall of his bedroom, I imagine. Come here, guys. And it's blowed up pretty big, so it kind of goes across the back of the bed when it was originally just a Polaroid. And it's all 6 of those kids sitting on the car hood the day they were dropped off here in Lufkin. Well, they're in Lufkin. I'm in Houston. Anyway, my dad was adopted by a couple that lived in an area of town where adoption was very common in that part of town. Him and the one that was 2 months old grew up down the street from each other as best friends. They were adopted by 2 completely different families who really didn't even know each other that well. But the boys grew up. They went to the pool together, the neighborhood pool. Grew up friends together, playing together. Come here, guys. Amos. I have a 1-year-old puppy, and he's just so energetic, and he doesn't mind as well as my border collie. Anyway, so they grew up together. And didn't find out until, as little kids go, they don't remember everything from their childhood. And I guess maybe even our own bodies, if it's something really bad, we choose to block it out. And then we remember through stories and stuff later on down the road. Well, my aunt, who was one of the oldest ones, she was also adopted there in Lufkin. And she stayed close to where she could keep an eye on the 2 boys. She was about 10 at the time. And I think her family knew more about the other 2 than they knew about her. Well, my dad was about to be drafted to the military at 18. She decided to tell them both. They said, well, you're brothers. And the other one was only like 12, 14 years old still. So he was still kind of young. And so that's basically a little bit about my dad's story and how he came to be adopted. When he was first brought home by his adoptive mom, the first thing he did, and he's told me this himself, he remembers this personally, he said his dad didn't get to go because he worked at the foundries and he couldn't take off, but the mom went by herself to finalize the adoption and pick him up. And she couldn't have babies for whatever reason, and so they adopted. And when he got off the car, they had an old El Camino, I think, back then. When he got off the car, he ran straight to my grandfather, the one I grew up knowing as my grandfather. Just lunged into his arms and said, "Are you my daddy? Are you my forever home?" And he just looked at him and he cried. And he said, "Yes." That's it, you guys. That's all there is. Peace out.